What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stochastic here on the Odd Shopper channel. No, that's not correct either. What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stochastic here on the Stochastic YouTube channel, coming to you with another edition of DraftKings Reignmakers football. Hit that like button for me. It goes a long way for me on this video. It goes a long way for you. That way you become a prize whenever great content is going live here at our little neck of the YouTube woods. It's week 5. It's going to be divine. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to do a lot of things today, but first, pulling up our DraftKings Reignmakers NFL projections. Yes, this is live here for you. If you've got everything we have to offer over here, I'm going to use this as a tag-along companion because I have tons I want to talk about here. We're going to do a breakdown of some of these other more unique games, some of the showdown games and how they're different a little bit from the main classic contests. Then I'm going to dig into the classic contest with the help of our projections, and I'm going to round it out by talking about something that I don't think ever gets talked about on Reignmaker shows. It's how to handle teams on buys. Because again, you can't win any money right now, but you can win money in the future off of your cards. Again, these cards last you all NFL season. Look at it as a long-term game plan. I want to cover the teams on buys and see if there's anything that we can buy that's a little bit devalued because they're not playing this week. Oh yeah, we'll get into it here. But of course, DraftKings Reignmakers projections, we have everything grouped point per dollar. And you're going to see, you have Chigakonkwo, you have Irv Smith Jr., Tyler Conklin, a lot of tight ends here where point per dollar based on their projection, they're going to stand out. Now, the Thursday to Monday slate already locked. That is going to be an individual slate where for me, what I'll tend to do is I'll throw in some punt cards. I'll try to, throw in a DJ Moore. That would have been a lot of fun for everybody involved. Brian Robinson. See if there's anybody who pops on the Thursday night game, especially if I don't have a lineup that I feel has the upside to go out and win one of those showdown contests. I'll put those in the Thursday to Monday, and then I can add and subtract cards. I can pivot cards in. That's kind of what I set up for this week. Didn't go well because Brian Robinson decided to not play football, but I had an individual play. Actually, where is that at? I thought I had it somewhere else here, but I have all my golf ones. Yeah, my golf ones. But you can see that there's a couple of these core ones where people have bought cards from me. I sold the Travis Kelce rare. I'm going to turn that into a core one because, again, I could use any rarity that I want here and have it as a placeholder, and somebody ended up buying that one. I can then have other ones. Again, I don't think I'm going to have the Zach Wilson, Breece Hall. This isn't like the A team that I rolled out, but Brian Robinson was somebody that I tried to utilize as a one-off from that game. If he goes for 25, awesome, sweet. If he doesn't, probably going to punt this lineup and utilize some of these cards like Breece Hall, who definitely has some utility. Okonkwo's at the top of our projections right now for the tight end position. I thought it was a valuable piece. He's somebody that I added just because I wanted to have it there. And then I had placeholder lineups. These are 125 start times like Kadarius Toney or Watson, Reed, guys like this. They are placeholders because they're all in the evening games. So again, just an interesting strategy that I use for how to create some deep roster contests. And hey, if I need to add or subtract cards, if I have something that smashes, if I had a DJ Moore here in the wide receiver spot, I would be building out the nuts for it. But it's pretty hard to win this core guaranteed contest, 1K to first for Thursday to Monday without DJ Moore. Just going to throw it out there. Not that it can't happen, but it's going to be difficult. So I'm going to use these cards elsewhere, which kind of leads me into what I want to talk about here for this week first. Yes, we love the 3K to first. We love, that there's 15.8K, a lot of entries that are already in this, but I especially love the showdown contest that we're looking at, because this is how I think you really, at the end of the year, end up profitable in Reignmakers or don't end up profitable in Reignmakers. It comes down to how you build out for the future. So I pulled up the NFL schedule for this week, and we'll finish out with this. This is going to be a huge part about what we talk about at the very end of this program, but we just saw the Bears and Commanders play here. I'm coming to you Friday afternoon. Then we've got the entire core contest here, which is going to be the main slate of contests, just like your regular DFS contest. But then we have the Jaguars and Bills. And there are only a couple cards that I really think make sense that have like winning utility. But then there's a lot of other cards that we can add to the fray to give you upside to at least cash those lineups, because not enough people are entering their cards in these showdown contests. Now, it's very difficult to win without the absolute stone cold nuts, and it's going to be very difficult here. But there's some interesting things that I talk about quite a bit here. And I think that's where we can jump to this page. This is the players page, my friends. We have football, PGA Tour, UFC going on Saturday too. Check out Greg Ehrenberg's video breaking down the UFC streets. But if you go to game set, here's that main contest. Again, we just started bye week, so fewer games this week than general. Thursday, 14 games. Again, 2 fewer than we've had in previous weeks, where all 32 teams were going. But we're going to head here. This is what I built out before this show. Bought some cards, mixed and matched, had everything work out the way that I wanted to. And Stefon Diggs, I think, is an unfadable part of this slate. It's very difficult for me to imagine building out a DraftKings Reignmakers lineup with just 4 cards where I don't have Stefon Diggs. Not saying that it can't happen, because it definitely has happened, but he was like an automatic have to buy. Now, he does not have the superstar spot, which is why you're seeing Stefon Diggs, $19.74, and Josh Allen at $13. Routinely last season and this season, Stefon Diggs has been one of the most expensive cards in the game at every tier. Whether you go to the rare tier, $78.50, to the elite tier where he's going for $809, legendary, oh my goodness, and then up to Rainmaker. Hi, how are you this fine day? Just saying, he is extremely pivotal because he doesn't have the superstar next to his name. You can only have one of those in a lineup, whether that's in the showdown or whether that is in the main slate contests. Got it? Awesome. Now, Josh Allen has the superstar. He's the only player from this game where they're playing over in London, where Buffalo and Jacksonville are playing. But I already have a half unit bet where I think Jacksonville is very live to win this football game. Buffalo has played incredible the last 2 weeks, but no Tre'Davious White. Opportunities going forward here for the Jacksonville Jaguars to offensively start to break out a little bit. And one thing that I thought was a little bit crazy when I looked at it, excuse me, I had to cough. We are looking at wild scenarios here for this Jacksonville team, considering how good Trevor Lawrence has played. If you go over to PFF, Jacksonville Buffalo, again, a great site for research. You can look at pregame odds, things of that nature. But look at this. Trevor Lawrence is a higher graded quarterback so far this season. Now, Josh Allen had that dud he threw up in week 1 against the Jets. Obviously, the Aaron Rodgers injury game. But Trevor Lawrence has played some damn good football, even though it hasn't necessarily showed up in the box score or in the results. Just 2 for 2. But last week, kind of starting to get right, starting to look better. Had some decent enough stuff there. Again, Travis Kelce out of that lineup here. But I'm going to make the contrarian decision to avoid Josh Allen here. He's a smash. You should probably be building out some Josh Allen. And if you want to get Diggs and Allen, $32 to get guys who could be in the Super Bowl, very likely to be in the playoffs and further, they're great to have. But my thing is this. There are a ton of total cards that exist of Josh Allen and Trevor Lawrence. But look how many are owned. People aren't using this players page enough. Go to this players page and start paying attention, because there are so few Trevor Lawrence's owned compared to Josh Allen's owned. Even though there's the same total prints of the cards, way more people in the game don't have Trevor Lawrence. I think that makes him my priority spend here at $9.49, considering the quality of his play. And if you go over to our projections page, type in Trevor Lawrence, you can see we have him for $1.96 point per dollar here. Okay. His low ask is $9.24 currently on the booster. This thing is getting updated pretty routinely. Awesome stuff from our team putting this together. You can see all the different editions of him. Cores, again, the slate that he's playing. He's over in London. Look at Josh Allen. $1.60. Sure, 23-16. There's a lot of scenarios this game plays out where you absolutely need Josh Allen. I'm not saying don't buy Josh Allen in the event that you're saying that. But for me, I'm going to build around Trevor Lawrence. He's projected for 5 less, but he's a better point per dollar play. He's coming in at $9.24, and his implied ownership based on the cards owned on the players page is drastically lower. I use this all the time in the UFC, the game that I'm the most heavily involved in right now in the Rainmaker streets. And hopefully, at the end of this season, I'll be able to take also my NFL cards and be able to utilize those into January and February as I start to stack up teams. I've already done it a number of times, but like injuries are going to happen, players are going to emerge, whether it's a Marvin Mims for Denver on a team that, maybe they trade away Jerry Jeudy. You're going to have things like this happen throughout the NFL season. And you want to be reactionary. And I think that's what we'll talk about when we get to the bye weeks, because I think that there's some decent value in the bye week street. But this is how I'm going to go about building for this showdown. I'm going to have more Trevor Lawrence. I'm going to have Travis Etienne, Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, even though Ridley and Kirk starting to get closer in price. Christian Kirk's outperformed him the last couple of weeks. After week one, if you had told anybody after watching one half of football that Calvin Ridley would average fewer fantasy points than Christian Kirk, we all would have said that would be insane. Had to cough again. Just coughing. Don't mind me. Anyway, let's go to my final lineup here for you. Exactly what I said I was going to do. Trevor Lawrence, Stephon Diggs. I'm going to go ETN and Kirk. I think having this differentiation. Now, I don't know. Maybe I will put Diggs up here. That feels like a tough sell to not have Josh Allen in that lineup, but Trevor Lawrence distributing it to Kirk and ETN. I think ETN also makes a lot of sense to put up in the captain spot as a super contrarian type build. You can also, in this game type play, again, I bought my 4 cards here from this one that I'm going to be utilizing for this, and these cards have utility the whole rest of the year. Currently, how many people are in this? Less than 2,000 with 10K in total prizes for this core contest. Pretty good point per dollar ratio there compared to playing the main slate. So pay attention to showdowns, build out for these single slates. All of the contests are already available. You know exactly how much you're going to be playing for and what you're going to be, which teams are playing over on the DK Nation site. Go get the schedule for Reignmakers and start planning accordingly. But this is going to be my preferred build here as of right now, something like this. Probably won't have Kirk up there. Again, Travis Etienne, Kirk, Diggs, something of this effect. Maybe I go Trevor Lawrence up there. Haven't really decided, but avoiding Josh Allen sounds an insane thing to do, but I'm going to try to make it a thing. Stephon Diggs, if you want to make that James Cook to get really contrarian, you can go ahead and do that. I just think that Stephon Diggs, he's one of the most important players in the game because he doesn't have the superstar tag, and you can play him for regular contests throughout the entire season. In that wide receiver / tight end, or flex spot. 3 spots for Stephon Diggs. You can play him alongside another superstar. Huge, important thing. No, honey, I don't want to take your tips today on buying this, but thank you for offering. All right. That does it for covering some of the showdowns. There are other showdowns that you can look at. Sunday, you have the great Dallas and San Francisco game going. I do think San Francisco defensive pieces a little bit sneaky. Get to, not Bosa. You don't have to buy the most expensive ones. They all count the same. So get yourself some defense. Get Warner, get Greenlaw, get a couple of those. You can stack those up in Showdown. You probably know about that by now, but I can build out with 3 defensive players and then put McCaffrey up there in the captain. Pretty unfadable so far, averaging north of 30 fantasy points per game. He has been the most important superstar in the game and one of the only superstars in the running back position. Again, you go to running back, go to all, and you can see exactly who I'm talking about. Again, you can see everybody there. Running backs, him and Eckler. And then there's also Saquon Barkley with a superstar. There's Derrick Henry with the superstar tag. Yeah, McCaffrey's been the premier guy up top here in Eckler. We'll get him back eventually, but they're on a bye. We'll talk about them here in a second. Oh, Austin Eckler. Very, very intriguing option. All right, let's get to the main slate. I know that's what a lot of you are here to talk about, so we can probably do that. As I'm looking at the contest for this week, I'm going to build out for the core here per usual. Again, different rarity tiers for everybody involved. Oh, got to check my location. Just like real estate, location. These are important things, friends. All right. So Anthony Richardson, talked about buying him last week, bought him, utilized him. He's very good at football. It's been fun to watch him emerge. That was a shootout. got things done with his legs again. Another touchdown. Had the 2 fumbles, which was, crazy, but just standalone play every single week. 30.6 fantasy points. Talked about him in depth. Hopefully you're able to get something out of that. And Anthony Richardson, now up to $14.97. I bought it for a lot less than that. We'll just put it that way. Cool. He is somebody that we could utilize there, but there are a lot of great quarterback options here. And I think going to the players page does a pretty good job of encapsulating who some of the best opportunities to get to guys point per dollar are. Mahomes has the superstar tag. Hurts has the superstar tag. You got Tagovailoa, Richardson, Cousins. All of these guys are phenomenal buys. And again, Richardson being the second most expensive quarterback, that's wild. I love it. Makes me so happy. Look how many people do not own him. Just saying. It's like I know what I'm talking about. I said buy Anthony Richardson. You should buy Anthony Richardson. I know what I'm talking about sometimes. But this week, he's obviously more expensive. I'm looking at Matthew Stafford. And one combination, I don't know what Cooper Kupp's going to give us right from the get-go. I think it'd be a little bit foolish for the Rams, for McVay, to give him 75, 80, 85% of snaps unless his hamstring is way better than we all think it is. But this Philadelphia secondary, they've been struggling a little bit. And if you pull up PFF here yet again, it's pretty easy to see why that is. We can X out of that too. They're 4-0. Just had a competitive game against Washington, which doesn't look so good in hindsight, but James Bradbury playing a little bit worse. Darius Slay playing a lot worse. And I mean, hey, Josh Jobe. That was a Hey Joe from Jimi Hendrix joke, just for anybody who cared. All right. This is huge. Huge. Just saying. Some injuries here in the secondary and defensive interior. There's really nobody better than Cox in the NFL at that. Well, other than Jalen Carter, who's been number 1. I can't believe we let Jalen Carter fall to the Eagles. Just throwing it out there, NFL. Y'all are disturbing. But you do have Blankenship back there. He's been playing pretty good ball. Evans as well at the strong safety position. Justin Evans, pretty decent across the board coverage grade. Not as high, though. Just throwing it out there. Better in the run. Again, that's your strong safety for it. Blankenship, he's out there roaming. He's been doing a great job at that, doing his job, filling the gaps. But this is going to be fun, friends. Puka Nacua, 5th rated wide receiver in the NFL so far. Had a pretty strong lean towards firing him up here quite a bit. As I look at the Rams in general, which you can also on the players page, pull up everybody specifically. We have the Matt Stafford, $9.25. But go to the wide receiver position because this is something that I don't think anybody's going to play this week. Cooper Kupp, not going to get clicked on. Nobody owns him as is at the core level. Even fewer at the rare level. Again, only 724 people have a Cooper Kupp card right now. This is probably not the week where he smashes, but if it is a double, him and Nacua, Van Jefferson's just going to be off the field the entire way. And Tutu Atwell, wild to see how expensive he is at the rare tier, $24.97. There's no Puka Nacua right now in the Reignmakers game. So I'm saying you have to just take the risk of Cooper Kupp somehow, some way funneling all of the targets instead of Nacua. I'm not saying it's a likely scenario. All I'm saying is that even if 50, 55, 60% of snaps are on the table, unless we get word of it, this is going to be the lowest owned opportunity you have to get Cooper Kupp. And we know the rapport he has with Stafford, and he's $9. He's only going to play more. Is there injury risk? Yes. But look at him relative to other superstars on this slate. The opportunity cost isn't as high as it normally is. You've got Tyreek Hill, obviously in a phenomenal spot against the Giants, going to be popular, should be. Justin Jefferson, he's been my priority superstar all season long. He gets a shootout against Kansas City. Is it likely that Cooper Kupp beats them? No. But in the event that he plays more than we think, or that Nacua doesn't take away his usage, you get a $9 Cooper Kupp in play immediately. Just saying, this is a great opportunity because this Eagles secondary 28th in terms of fantasy points allowed to the wide receiver position. That is pretty wild when you think about how good Philly's defense is. And they have a pretty pronounced opportunity there. This game has a 50 total. So many things going your way here. So Stafford to Cup, when you're only building out 5 players here, I really like it as the contrarian of all contrarian Reignmakers builds. You can run that back with a number of other pieces. AJ Brown. Can I interest you in some AJ Brown in your life? What can Brown do for you? $12.24. He's an absolute monster. He's the preferred guy. If you want to go cheaper, Devonta Smith is there. Although, again, you look and break it down. Zacchaeus, don't do that. Quez Watkins, don't do that either. Dallas Goedert, are you even alive right now? Shout out South Dakota State. But wanted to cover that one because I think that that's a great game, great target-rich environment. The other one feels really uncomfortable. I kind of led to it, but this is too cheap. I know we all just watched Seattle, a team that had like no sacks. Now they have 1 million sacks, and we just saw them play terrible. But Miami's secondary also isn't all that for me. Daniel Jones can provide some running, and they're going to have a different game plan in play because, I mean, it's got to be more Wan'Dale Robinson. I think it's difficult with Jones because straight up, of course, I prefer Anthony Richardson. I'm going to be playing Anthony Richardson, but Anthony Richardson's more than double the price right now. This is such a buy low candidate for a guy that obviously they're going to play a bunch. They gave him a massive contract here in the offseason. He's not going anywhere. He's going to be wearing Giants blue forever. So Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley are both 2 buy lows in a game where they are almost 2 touchdown dogs. It's moved north of 11, 12 right now. It's sitting at 12.5 at a couple of books. So DraftKings Sportsbook right now, 11.5. I'm telling you, Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones, you're getting the combination of the two for $12. That feels like a much better purchase for today in this game environment than anything else. And then the runbacks are obvious. You have Achane, who's just been going nuts. Mostert, who I can't believe he's cheaper than Achane. We'll see if those fumbles end up affecting him at all. And of course, you get Tyreek Hill at $15.75. You can only play him or Saquon. So those lineups will have to be independent of each other. You can't have those 2 superstars together. When you have a superstar tag, can't play both. Throwing it out there. But anyway, we're at the 23-minute mark. Hit that like button for me. Jalen Waddle also a buy low at 649. Hasn't gotten the targets that we might have expected so far this season, but lots of time left. I might try to make Waller or Wan'Dale Robinson a thing, although I think Waller, a much better play on that Thursday to Monday slate, simply because you have to play a tight end in that. Here, you can play, what is it? What am I saying? You can play 3 wide receivers. So I will say there's that. And if you go to our Reignmakers page here as well, Wan'Dale Robinson and Wan'Dale, $10, $10.65 for a projection. Currently going pretty darn cheap. Again, there's some low asks. These are the low asks that exist for it. You look at Robinson. Right now, $1.28 for a low. That's a pretty great opportunity to jump in. 668. You basically saw a complete shift in this wide receiver room. Darius Slayton, he's still going to be on the field quite a bit. But you saw Hodgins and Paris Campbell basically removed for Jalen Hyatt and Wan'Dale Robinson. They should be developing their young talent. They're more talented. They're better. So treat this chick mo better. Wan'Dale Robinson, $1.28. Sounds insane, but I'm actually going to have some. There's only 10 games here, and there's an opportunity in this game environment for it to pop. If you've got cards, you play them here. But obviously, the Minnesota Vikings, TJ Hawkinson, $5.99 at the wide receiver / tight end position. Jordan Addison coming off of a 0, an absolute 0 against Carolina. What is this, bro? I know they were establishing the run with Alexander Madison a little bit, but that was a little bit crazy to me. I expect some positive regression, so another great buy low candidate. With only 10 games on the slate, lots of ways to get different, lots of great opportunities. But at the quarterback position, talked about it before, I still think that we're going to be looking. I obviously have my Richardson, Lamar Jackson, a couple of other opportunities I can fire up. I think you should definitely be firing up Matthew Stafford at $9.25 against an Eagles secondary not yours, not my father's Eagles secondary. They've been lackluster, to say the least. You just saw Dobbs, or not Dobbs. You saw Sam Howell carve him up. Probably should have won that football game. Washington should have, but is what it is. And then Daniel Jones, two very low buy low candidates with only 20 quarterbacks in action on the main slate. Like getting to both of them. At the running back position, said Saquon, that's going to be somebody who he's a definite buy low. Like Swift in that game environment at 799 as well. I think he's done a pretty good job of establishing himself, but I think the best buy of the entire week is Joe Mixon. You've seen basically all of the work, also some third down work here. You've seen it, can't even say it. Chris Evans inactive in a lot of these spots as well. Think that I really like getting to him. And then Breece Hall, lots of word on the street here going up against Denver where he could be the lead back. They said that he's no longer on a snap count. Doesn't mean that they're not going to watch his snaps still, but he's so talented and so good. Shout out Iowa State. And the wide receiver position did a pretty good job of covering that as well. Justin Jefferson, still going to be a priority for me if you're going to be stacking up that game. Really want to be getting to him. Tyreek Hill, if you're going to be taking Daniel Jones on, maybe you put him with Wan'Dale Robinson. Nobody's going to do that. They'll do it in regular DFS. They're not going to do it this week in the core contest on Reignmakers, but really like getting to some Sutton as well as a run back at 245 with the Breece Hall. So many ways to jump in now where there's only 10 games and it's a little bit less exposure. All right. Covered enough there in the core. Gave you a lot of wide receiver options there at the high end, the mid end, and the low end. Again, how good? $1.28 Wan'Dale. If you want to take some Jalen Hyatt too, he should be playing more and more snaps going forward. But we are rounding it out in a ridiculous fashion, friends. Let's talk bye weeks. The Buccaneers, the Browns, the Chargers, the Seahawks. I don't know why I said those out of order. It's mainly because little bye road action. These teams aren't playing. You can't use their cards in anything this week, but players tend to want to go get rid of the cards that they have to go buy new cards. And if you're playing this for the long haul, like you should be, again, get your free pack down below. I don't even think I've said that for the entire session. Go get your free pack below. I'm going to have to post that over on X and make sure that you guys take a look down there and get that free pack because it's really good stuff. But I want to go through these buys because I think one by one, there are some value pieces that have emerged if you're looking at the right places. We're going to start with Cleveland. Actually, I think we can just put them all in at once, right? Oh, they're not going to have it listed here on this. See, that's another reason. You go to all because it was done by team. There we are. Cleveland. Then I brought up the Chargers, Los Angeles Chargers. Were the other ones? Again, it takes a little bit of work. I apologize. Seahawks and Buccaneers. Seahawks. Promise it's going to be worth it because this is really great. And Tampa Bay. I'm going to sort by most expensive. Now, Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen was like infinity dollars last week. He was over $20 last week. He and Stephon Diggs were insanely expensive. The only reason he's dropped down to $12.25 right now is because he's on a bye week. It's the only reason. Austin Eckler expected to come back after the bye. Justin Herbert, you can't even play in the same lineup as him, but the Allen Herbert or the Eckler Allen and then play a different quarterback, definitely a viable strategy. Kenneth Walker down to $7 has primarily had the entire backfield there. Deshaun Watson and Geno Smith at $650 and $597. Why don't we take a look at who these teams are playing here in week 6, shall we? I think you're going to find this very, very interesting. Broncos, Chiefs. Yeah, Cowboys, Chargers. There's a showdown game coming up for next week. Interesting. We already know those prize pools. We already know what we're building for. If you're building out for Dallas, San Francisco on Sunday night, have some Cowboys pieces and buy some Chargers for cheap now. If you don't get these 3 main Chargers, obviously there's an opportunity to get to another piece down here and get to Joshua Palmer for $1.82. This is an absolute buy candidate here at the moment. I didn't know what to make of Quentin Johnston's role. I thought he'd be playing more on the outside, played more snaps, but Josh Palmer is the guy that I think benefits the most from Mike Williams being out going forward. Was hoping that it would be Quentin Johnston because of how cheap he was, but alas, earwax. That was a Harry Potter joke. Let's look at who else we possibly can find some value with, because I think this one's pretty interesting as well. Buccaneers, where are you? Where are you? Tampa 2. Tampa 2. It's different looking at this and then looking at the ESPN site. I don't know where Tampa went. There they are. Hello. Anybody excited for that football game? Think there might be a little bit of scoring there. The Lions pairing with the Bucs in week 6. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I think it's a phenomenal buy spot for a couple of these Buccaneers. Not necessarily Baker Mayfield, but Mike Evans, 524, might actually be questionable here. Chris Godwin is $2.99. Buy. Rachaad White, $2.77. Buy. Absolutely buy it. You got to play a running back. He's going to be super contrarian. Think it's a great spot against Detroit. Detroit's got a good defense. It's not that they don't, but they tend to lead to some of these shootouts. It's going to be something that I want to be invested in. I obviously wish this was being played in Detroit in a dome, but I'll take it here in Tampa in decent enough weather as well. And then the other two teams that we're looking at, the Seattle Seahawks. They are heading to take on Cincy. Think they've given up some points recently, haven't you? Oh, yeah. And check out some of these wide receiver prices. Tyler Lockett is $2.50. DK Metcalf, $4.77. Neither of them have superstar tags. They are absolutely smash buys right now. They're going to be double these prices when I talk to you during week 6. Mark my words. Last one. We had Cleveland, Seattle, the Chargers, and then, which was the final one? Did I put them in? Tampa Bay, Seattle, Chargers, and Cleveland. Oh, yeah, Cleveland. Cleveland is playing the 49ers. If you have McCaffrey and you want to be game stacking this like you should, another great opportunity to be able to piece it together. So there are great game environments, 2 really good defenses going in this one, and people kind of hit eject on Watson. He ends up torching Tennessee. Then he gets expensive, but now the truth lies somewhere in the middle. And this is both. These are 2 really, really cheap prices purely because they're on a buy. I expect both to be a little bit more expensive. Maybe not double because it's San Francisco, but just saying. Great buy lows on a couple of these pieces here just because it's a bye week. So if you're planning on stashing, planning on playing the whole season, buy some Chargers now. They have been one of the best teams in the NFL to target, period, end of story. Offense is firing on all cylinders under Kellen Moore, despite what the public wants to tell you. The offense has still been pretty damn good and obviously consolidated target share. That's what we're looking for here in fantasy. Austin Eckler getting back in the mix will be awesome to see. Whew, we got a lot done today. We covered Showdown. We covered the main slate. We covered bye weeks. Oh, check out the players page. Get your free pack down below. I love DraftKings Reignmakers. I think you will too, my friends. That does it for week 5. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, smash that like button as I get out of here. Until next time, friends, until week 6, when I will double back in on some of these prices. I'm going to take notes. These bye week guys are pretty decent to get to. Until next time, friends, I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck in the Reignmakers streets for week 5 and beyond.